Hello, welcome to Healthy Homes for Home Healthcare Workers, video number 2, Keep It Dry. This is brought to you by the Indiana Healthy Homes Alliance and Improving Kids Environment, also known as IKE. My name is Dan Fries. I'm a team leader with the Marion County Public Health Department. So what is a healthy home? A healthy home is designed, built, renovated, and maintained to support good occupant health. So the objectives today for this video are to understand what some of the health problems are from not keeping your home dry, to be able to identify some sources of moisture in the home and some of the health problems that could be caused by those moisture sources, and ways to identify those problems that to identify some problems in the home that keep it difficult to keep it dry, and some suggestions and solutions to keep your home dry and safe. So some of the health effects that we see from not keeping our home dry are upper respiratory tract symptoms. So you can have coughing, wheezing, you can have asthma symptoms, and then also hypersensitivity of the lungs as well. So what are some sources of moisture in the home? So you can have, like you typically see, plumbing leaks. Also, you're not managing the rainwater or groundwater to stay away from the home. And then, so you can see leaks in the roof or in your basement, walls. Also, some sources that you may not typically think of are going to be sources that can have condensation on them. So that could be some plumbing lines, your toilet, and then also in your basements and in your home on walls and windows where you can have warm air meeting cold air or cold surfaces. So here's an illustration that kind of just shows you some of the water sources in the home. So you can see you can have your bathroom or kitchen where you have your shower or water vapor coming up from when you're cooking. And then on your exterior, you can see where you can have leaks in your roof or on your walls, or where rainwater, if it's not sloped properly away from the home or directed away from the home, can leak into the basement and seep in also through groundwater. So here's some illustrations and some pictures of what moisture can do in the home, some of the damage. So the first picture we're looking at is an air conditioner, outside air conditioner unit. And the issue or the problem there is it's not tilted properly, so it can't drain properly, so the water is actually leaking back into the home. And the middle picture is showing the unit below where the water seeped in and started doing damage to the ceiling and the walls. Another illustration of an issue with moisture is the bathroom. In this picture, we have a bathroom that doesn't have a window and it doesn't have a proper operating ceiling fan, so the moisture isn't being able to be drawn out of the room and we're seeing mold buildup. A quick test that you can do or have someone do in their home to see if their bathroom vent's working correctly is take a piece of toilet paper tissue, turn your fan on, put it up to the vent. If it stays up there, then it's got enough airflow and it's working correctly. If it's not working correctly, then should have someone come out and service it for you. Here we're looking at, on the left is condensation or a leak from a pipe. So that's going to be somewhere that, under the floor or in a wall, so maybe a little bit harder to find, but there will be indications, there's signs that there's a leak. And then on the right, we're looking at a downspout that is pinched off and not getting away from the home far enough, so you can get water that can seep into the basement, crawl space, or slab, whatever may be there next to that downspout. The picture on the left would be a picture that maybe the downspout's not away from the window far enough, so you have water coming into the window, or the ground's not sloping away from the home well enough, so you have water coming back in, and then also seeping in through the walls. The middle picture here is an example of not venting your dryer to the outside. So this is where a basement that had a washer and a dryer, and it was not vented to the outside. So you have an outside wall that's cooler. When the dryer is running, you have warm air, and they meet together on the wall, which caused condensation, which then caused this mold to grow. And the last picture was a home that had older windows that weren't weeping or getting the water away. So they were seeping into the window, which then seeped into the wall and caused the mold in the wall. So what we're looking at here would be a potential hazard in your home if you had a roof leak that went unaddressed. So you can see the water comes into the roof, gets into the ceiling, and then deteriorates the drywall, which then can fall on the occupant. And in this instance, this was a home, this was right above someone's bed, and it actually did fall on the bed. Luckily, they were not in the bed at the time. So we've seen some of the issues, so what are some of the things that we can do to fix some of the problems? One of the things you want to do is make sure that if it's not your home, that you, once you have found the issue, that you let your landlord know, and then they need to come out and fix the problem. Also, there's usually some indication that you have a problem. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can smell it, even sometimes you can hear it. So if it's not obvious, sometimes you have to look, and it may be look behind a wall or under a floor, or in the basement. So sometimes you just need to do a little extra work to find the problem. So once we find the problem and we say we find mold, what do we do? So we want to identify where the problem is, and in some instances you may identify what you're dealing with, what type of mold. Typically you can address smaller mold issues yourself. You want to make sure that we fix the leak, and then we're going to clean. If we have drywall or material that are wet that cannot be saved, we're going to remove that material and then put in new material, especially after we know that the leak has been fixed permanently. So we're not replacing it and then redoing it. And then kind of have a plan in place to make sure that we're checking it routinely for a little bit to make sure that we're not having any repeat issues. When we're dealing with mold, like I said, if it's a smaller issue or a smaller problem, people can do it themselves. We want to look at maybe less than 10 square feet. And when we're dealing with it, a lot of people think, well, all right, mold, bleach, let's address it. We'll just spray it with a whole bottle of bleach. That's not going to help you any, because then you're putting yourself in danger or someone in your home in danger. You're going to want to use a cleaning solution, and you can see here it's a 1:10 ratio with detergent to water, so it doesn't need a lot of detergent to be used to clean. And you're going to want to spray down the area and then clean it well. You're not going to want to use any high pressure sprayers, because the issue that you're going to have there is you're going to spread the mold spores, and then you can find that they'll settle in another area. One of the big issues that we see, and especially here in Indiana, are homes with basements, and you can have flooding in the basement or moisture in the basement. So addressing moisture in the basement, you want to make sure that you keep your home drained. So you want to make sure that there is a drain in the basement, that it's not painted over or filled in, so that it's working correctly, that you have an operating sump pump in your basement, and that's working correctly, and it would be a good idea to have a backup. So If you have an electric sump pump, then have a battery backup so that if you do lose the power, you still have something that can work in your home. Also, with a basement, to minimize any mold or moisture touching materials, you want to keep any materials that are paper or wood off the floor for sure, but you really don't want to keep any of those in the basement. If you can, store them in plastic containers or bins, something that if they do get wet won't get ruined or grow mold. Another issue I touched on a little bit earlier with a basement is that you can have the warm air from your home coming in contact with cold surfaces. So you have your walls or your windows that are in the basement, and when that warm air comes in contact with the cold surface, you're going to get some condensation, and then you have your potential for mold growth on those surfaces. So if you can, you want to possibly, if you could have a finished basement so you have some insulation between the cold surface and the warm air, that can work. And then also just looking at your windows to make sure that they're working properly and they're not having buildup of condensation. And then also with a basement, you can have a dehumidifier put in, keep it in there to help remove moisture out of the air. But you want to make sure that if you do that, that it's drained properly, so that it's either going to the sump pump, or if it has a collection basin, that then you're changing that routinely. Otherwise, you're just making a giant mold home because you have a bucket of water basically sitting in your basement. So when we're looking at these two pictures, we're looking at a crawl space on the left that is pretty much open to your general air, surface contact. And then on the right, we're looking at a crawl space that's been sealed off, and then they've also put in some barriers over the soil. So you can see how much it can reduce your exposure to any mold or moisture coming out of the soil, and then also any critters or anything else getting in there. But really with the moisture, you're sealing off the soil, and you're reducing any moisture coming up through there and then through your home. Some other ways that you can help remove or eliminate moisture in your home is to make sure, one, that you have a working downspout and gutter. So your gutters need to be cleaned. So if you live in a home that's near trees, you want to make sure that you're checking, make sure that there's no leaves or dirt buildup in there. We've seen in homes where trees are actually growing out of the gutters because they're full and blocked, and then the seeds fall in there and they start growing. So you want to make sure that those are working properly. And then with the downspouts, that they're actually getting the water away from the home. It's not just discharging right next to the home. The picture on the right, you can see they actually put a little system in where that's really getting the water further away from the home, and they actually dug it so it goes underwater, so you're not getting any ground erosion with that. Again, you want to make sure that if you have your sump pumps, that they're installed correctly and they're working properly and maintained. So a lot of times with healthy homes issues, you're looking at the home as a system, and you want to make sure that you're checking things like it's an operating system. So you have a routine maintenance that you're looking at all these things to come by. So you're routinely looking at your gutters, your downspouts, maybe not necessarily your plumbing, but you're checking for leaks. And if you do find them, then you can repair them quickly, and it's not something that's been sitting there over time. Again, the way to eliminate excess moisture in the home is you want to make sure that things are built correctly, they're maintained correctly, and that's going to be talking about your plumbing systems, your heating and cooling system. So you want to make sure that rooms are, at the right temperature So you're not having a really hot room and a really cold room, which can then cause a change and then maybe some moisture buildup. And then making sure that everything's being vented outside correctly. So you don't have that, in the kitchens, when you're cooking, you can have your fans on and it's pulling the moisture out. You're not having excess moisture in there, as well as in the bathroom. And then everything is in proper maintenance, so everything is working correctly. Thank you for listening. If you have interest in looking for more resources, please look at the links below, and thank you for your time.